distributed version control system, which is the majority of the case. Correct? So now how actually this distributed version control system works? Let's look at that. Okay. Now, first thing, understand how actually they work. Any kind of work. You are a developer, you are DevOps engineer, infra engineer, in whatever capacity you work, how actually we work. Just like we discussed a couple of minutes ago, we work in some simple directory on our local machine. And what kind of work we do doesn't matter. You're writing down piece of code, you're writing down a research algorithm, whatever. But at the end of the day, what we do, we just go ahead and we just do a CRUD operations on a file. We delete some files, we update, edit, whatever. Just CRUD operation where we do that in some certain working directory or a directory on our local system. Correct? Yes or no? Right? So just like one developer will do that, other folks will also work in a similar fashion on their own, like, local directories. Yes or no? Correct? So this, assume this is my local system, laptop, desktop, whatever you assume. So this is where I am referring to what? A working directory. Okay. What we are referring to this? Working directory. And what is working directory? Just a directory where you're working on your machine. When you are saying you need to keep a track of what you are doing, meaning what? Meaning keeping a track of what you are doing in this working directory is equivalent to keeping a track of what you are doing. Yes or no? Right? So to help us with this requirement, we do have specific tool, and that tool is what? Git. Okay. And again, what Git gonna help you with? Git gonna help you with only keeping a track of what's happening in your working directory, which is on your local machine. And this local working directory, we generally refer to that working directory as local repository. What we refer to it as a local repository. Now, repository can also be abbreviated as repo. So you can call it local repository or local repo. But now, just like, this developer has his or her own local repository. This developer is also having his or her local repository. This developer is also having his or her local repository. Just like that, if you have 100 people in your development team, then every one of them will be having their own local repositories lying around on their own machines. Yes or no? Correct? So basically, how do they collaborate with each other then? Because they are on their local machines, correct? The repository is on their local machine, right? So that's exactly why we need something, right? Some sort of centralized space where everyone, everyone should be able to put their piece of code, right? And if required, everyone should be able to take piece of code from this centralized space, correct? Now, this, what is the purpose that we need a centralized space? Collaborate. Another, we should be also able to give specific access to specific people, what they can access, what they can download, or what they can push, or what they can put here on this centralized space. Yes or no? So now this centralized space, as it is remote means it is far away from your local machine. That's what we call it, remote repository. Okay, remote repository, correct? And who provides us this centralized space? So there are multiple providers, okay, to provide this. And one of the example is GitHub. Another example would be Bitbucket, correct? Even GitLab, yes. So if you understand it now, Git, where you can use Git on your local machines to keep a track of your local repository. But When it comes to remote repository, can you use Git to host your remote repository? No. Git is a tool. Git is a standalone tool which you can install on your machines, which will help you to keep a track of your local repositories only. But if you want to create some sort of remote repository for your organizations, then you need some sort of provider. You need some sort of service provider like GitHub or Bitbucket or GitLab or something else. Got it? And these providers may provide their service either free or in a paid way, depending upon what features you may require. Git is a tool and GitHub, Bitbucket, these are what? These are services. So now let's go ahead and let's first talk about Git. Okay, then we will see GitHub. Okay, now first thing I mentioned you who developed Git, Linus Torvalds, and it's a completely open source. So what is the official what is the official portal for Git? So here is the official portal for Git. Okay, gitscm.com. Here's the URL. I'm just putting that in the chat window. So here is the URL of Git. And if you see here, there are multiple installers available for Git. So depending upon your operating system, you can download that specific version. Okay, and that should be fine. Now, here is the documentation of Git. Okay, and it also consists of couple of videos, 3-4 videos to give you basic understanding. It also has a reference manual, which is again offline and online, and it has the compilation of this official documentation as a PDF, basically a book. Okay, ProGit. All the things, all the syntaxes obviously are always mentioned in this documentation. So as I said, please always make sure that you are referring to official documentation of that respective tool to get trustworthy and up-to-date documentation about that particular feature of that tool or the complete tool. Okay, so if you whenever you need, definitely you can always refer to this documentation. All right, and if you want, you can even download this PDF on your local machine. Okay, guys, so you can always refer to this as a single source of truth for Git. Okay, cool. So what I did, I mean, how to install that? If you're using Windows, simply go ahead, download this installer. Okay, it will download an installer. So run that and say next, 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 finish. That's all. You can install that. And once you install Git, okay, so you see couple of things will get installed. Let's say Git bash, Git command, Git GUI, right? So why we need all these things? So what happened initially, like let's say 10, 15 years back, like 10 years or 12 years back, Windows didn't had full support on the terminal. Okay, this Windows terminal, which we see now, which is very rich in terms of feature, it was not that rich couple of years back, right? So what Git used to do, Git used to install its own CLI, right? Git bash to execute Git commands. All right. But nowadays, with the modern Windows, when I'm saying modern Windows, specifically from Windows 7 and above versions, okay, you can use all the Git commands very seamlessly right from Windows terminal itself. Okay, right from Windows terminal itself. So it's up to you whether you want to use this Windows terminal or you want to use Git bash. It's up to you. Okay, there all the Git commands, their syntaxes, and the way we use them will still remain the same. And not only with Git bash or Windows terminal, but specifically with any operating system nowadays, if you want to use Git, syntax and everything would still remain the same. No differences. Okay, what I will be using, I will be using this Windows terminal. Okay, because it's I can control the fonts and everything so that you will be able to see that peacefully. That's the reason. No specific reason. Okay, cool. So now uh, let me just create one directory, guys. Okay. So what I'm doing in my D drive, right? I am just creating one directory. Okay. So let's say I'm creating this directory git demo. All right. Now we have installed Git. Okay. We have installed Git, and I will be working in this directory. You see, Git demo, and there is nothing right now. Correct. So first thing, uh, whether Git has been installed or not. If you want to check, simply say git -v, and it should give you the version of the Git which has been installed. Mine is this one. Okay. All right. Now, let's say I'm working in this directory in whatever capacity I'm working. So first thing that you need to do, you need to tell Git that who is working, what's the name, and what is the email of the user. Okay. And how can we tell that? So I'm just giving you one Git cheat sheet, which is officially available. Here it is. Okay. What does this contains? This contains the basic commands, popularly used commands and their syntaxes. Okay. So if you see, keep that URL handy, or you can always Google it. So how can we configure? Okay. So only two things are required: name and email. Why? We'll talk about it later, but for now, consider that as a mandatory steps. Okay. So this is how you can configure. Okay. Something like this. So go ahead, git config hyphen global user dot name, and give the name. Let's say developer one. This is the name. Hit enter. This is one. This is how you can configure your name. And another is email. So go ahead and put down your email which you intend to use. Okay, it should be a valid email. Okay, so just put down whatever email you want to put down. Now, next step. So practically speaking, I would be working in this directory. So what I can call this directory? I can call this directory as my working directory, right? What I can call working directory. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I want Git to keep a track of everything which I will be doing in this directory. Yes or no? Correct? So we need to instruct Git, right? That keep an eye on this directory, because in your system there might be hundred and thousands of directories would be like, there. How Git will understand where to look and or which directory you want Git to keep a track? Can Git understand by itself? Definitely no. We need to instruct. So how can we instruct? So by this command git init. That's all. Git init. And you see the message which you got, what Git is saying. All right, I got it. So I initialized an empty Git repository. Okay. Now, guys, understand, don't get confused. Git demo is what? This directory Git demo. This is what? This is my working directory where I am working. Correct? Now, if you want Git to keep a track, Git will store some things, Git will remember some things in according to keep a track. Yes or no? Correct? So where Git will store all those things? So Git will store all those things in a directory. Which directory? This .git directory. Okay? This .git directory. And this .git directory, we call that as a local repository. Okay? We call this as a local repository. And this directory is a single source of truth for Git. It's a single source of truth for Git. Okay. Meaning what? If this directory is not present, then what will happen? Assume I want to ask Git, what is the status of my repository? How can I ask? Like this, Git status. You see what it is saying? Nothing to commit. Everything is good. Everything is clean. Correct? Right? But if you see now in this directory, I mean Git demo, if I see the hidden files, Do you see this .git folder? Right? .git. If I delete this directory, right? And if I ask git one more time, git status, you see what git will say? Git will say it's not even a git repository. And why is that? Because whenever you are asking something to Git, where Git will try to find information for you in a local repository. What is the local repository? This .git folder. This is single source of truth for Git, right? So if if you lose this directory, you will lose your Git repository, and there is no way to get that back. You lose it completely. Clear? Okay. And that's exactly the reason when you create a Git repository by initializing like Git init, that's why Git keeps this directory hidden. Got it? So that no one should mistakenly just delete it. Okay, can anyone tell me now what should we do as we lost our repository? So we will have to restart all over again. So Git init. So again, I have initialized the repository, right? Now here, okay. So let's say I am working and I am adding a piece of code, a feature. Let's assume. Okay. So understand by doing this or by executing git init, what you told git, keep an eye on this directory. Correct? So now I'm just creating this feature1.txt. Let's assume this is some sort of piece of code. Okay. And what I'm doing is I'm adding some piece of code. Assume this is some sort of piece of code. This is feature one. Okay, I'm saving it. Cool. Now, if I say git status, what do you think? What git should tell us? Any changes or not? Okay. So as soon as you say git status, look at it. What git is telling us? Git is telling boss, this is something, and one new untracked file is there. Okay. There's some new untracked file is there. Why? Because understand, when you initialize the repository, was there anything in this repository? Was there anything?
Mm,
Nothing.
no.
It was empty. Now you have added one file. Okay. So when Git is, I mean, since the last Git remembers the status of your repository, it was empty, and now there is some content. So Git is saying, oh, but there is something new which I don't know, right? Why Git don't know about this? Because by initializing the repository, what we told Git? We told Git to look at the directory. Git is looking at it. But have we asked Git to remember anything or to track this file? Have we? We haven't. That's why Git is telling this is untracked. Got it? Okay. So how can we go and how can we tell Git to remember this file as well? How? So first is git add. Okay. So I want this file to add to a git. Okay. Now, if you have one file, simply say something like this, git feature1.txt if you want to add that file. If you have multiple files, then give space, add multiple files like this, feature2.txt and continue, right? If you have multiple files, let's say you have 100 and 1000 files to add. So simply say dot, meaning what? All the files, all the directories, even recursively add everything to Git. Got it? Okay. So I have added this git add. Okay. Now I want to commit. How can I commit? Git commit and give a message, a meaningful message, right? I'm saying adding feature one and I'm committing. What is commit? We will see. Don't worry. Okay. Now Git remembers it. Okay. Now Git remembers it. So basically, for simple understanding, you can say commit is what? Commit is a snapshot of your all the files in that directory, including contents and everything. A snapshot, right? Okay. So for simplicity, look at this. Can you see this background wallpaper? Can you see? It's still,
Yeah.
this is snapshot. You can exactly see, okay, what is the position of this flower, how the grass is, how the reflection looks like. It's a snapshot. That's what commit is. Now, if you compare another snapshot of the same scene, you can clearly understand, okay, what is changed? Yes or no?
Yes.
Correct? That's exactly a commit is for Git. Okay? That's exactly a commit is for Git. Got it? Clear? Now, understand. We talked about two things. What is that till now? One thing we talked about is working directory. Correct? We talked about working directory. And another thing we talked about what? Your local repository. Correct? Which is single source of truth. Correct? Local repository. Now, understand how actually Git works. Okay? Now, as you have committed this, now if I say Git status, what Git is saying? Nothing, there is nothing, right? Everything is clean. Working tree is clean. Cool. But now, if I modify this feature 1.txt, look at it. What I'm just doing, I'm just going and I'm just like putting something. This is another line. I'm assume I just modified a piece of code. Okay. And now, as soon as I say git status, what git says? Git says this file has been modified. Okay. This file has been modified. So how? Now understand. Look at this. Uh, can you see this file? Can you see this file? Right? Everyone can see it. Correct? Now understand. You saw that file, right? You saw this file. Now you need to tell me whether this file has been modified or not. We definitely cannot tell whether it has been modified or whether it has not been modified. Correct?
Yeah.
But if you open this file, now can you tell me for sure whether it has been modified or not? Yes. Correct. Now you can 100% tell, yes, this file has been modified. So if you just go back, if you just go back 2 minutes and look at it, how actually you derived at this, that this file has been modified. How? Because basically what you did previously, when you looked at the file, you remembered that status, isn't it? And now when I opened up a file, you are just comparing the previous known status which you had in your mind and what is the current status now. You just compare that. Yes or no? This is exactly what Git does. Git compares the last known status with your working directory. Okay. Git compares the last known status with your working directory. And if it is same, it says working tree is clean. Nothing has been modified. And if there is a difference, it will say something has been modified. This is how Git keeps a track. How can you ask Git to remember something? Via doing a commit. There is one thing. Now, the way you compared, I mean, we are human, so obviously we use brain to compare, to compute something. I mean, Git is a tool. I mean, does it has its own like something to compare? No, it will require some sort of like something to compare, right? So you have another like, thing, which is nothing but your staging area. Okay, staging area. So what happens? Working directory. Understand, working directory is a physical thing you can see. Local repository, basically .git folder. It's also a physical thing you can see. But staging area is a in-memory storage. And why does Git requires that? Git requires that to compute something, to remember something, right? Got it? How? So when you remember when we created this feature one.txt, where we created it in our working directory, correct? Yes or no? That's where we created it. When we did git add, where did it go? It went to staging area. And how many files you can add? One, two, or even thousands, isn't it? Correct? So it went
Yeah.
to staging area. Now, whatever you have added, when you say git commit, right? How it went here by doing git add, right? Git add, correct? And how you ask git to remember it? By git commit, right? So commit means what? Git remembered this file now. Remember means it remembers what is the content, what was the everything in that file for that moment. And that's what your first commit is.